On this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast, forget Netflix and chill. We're here for bunkers and books.
And the boys are reminded of a fact. The Old West smells.
Get ready for the drop of Liz and Diana's newest album. It's whale sounds. Let's do this.
Welcome to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. I'm Diana.
And I'm Liz, who is totally prepared for this, as is Diana. And
Totally.
And we're very sorry. We were very sorry there was a week off. We meant to mention it in our last episode, but we forgot. So there was a week off. Surprise! We're back.
Surprise. But we're back. It's okay. We're back. It was a nice break. Hopefully you got caught up on all of our YouTube.
Right? Did you go watch our YouTubes? I've been looking at our YouTube counts. You did not. I released a new thing this week, like just because I have to move, so I am catching up on a bunch of shit. Expect a ton of YouTube videos to come out over the next month, as Liz does not want to pack. So if you go last week, you can go find there's a new lore edition on oh God, what was her name? It was Carol Compton, the Superstitious Witch. I used over 100 GIFs in that video. So
it's a lot of GIFs.
It was a lot of GIFs. So go catch up on our YouTube. So we took that week off because it was Memorial Day weekend and I went to go to punk rock bowling.
Woo-hoo.
Which I think for like at this point, okay. Punk rock festivals tend to be targeting an audience, which is my age and older. I'm fine with this because I am of that audience. That, however, means a lot of the bands that are playing have some older gentlemen. I saw so many grandpas grab their dicks on stage this weekend. Like, it was a little disconcerting. Like, okay, so I think we've discussed like how leaving, we're concerned for you, but I saw him grab his dick. I saw Mike from Suicidal Tendencies grab his dick.
Well, he just kind of does that, isn't it?
That's kind of his thing. But it was worse. Like on my flight, my flight back to Austin, I am in this row with a couple that could look like a normal mom and dad couple, and they look at me and like, okay, guys, it's pretty obvious I went to punk rock bowling. We can't like. If you were on the plane from Vegas and you looked at me, you would go, she went to punk rock bowling. So they turned to me and they go, did you go to punk rock bowling? And I said, yes, I did. And they're like, well, you're probably the last person that would appreciate this. And they take out a picture of Mike from Suicidal Tendencies with her husband or the man, I was playing with. And I was like, that is awesome. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, I saw him grab his dick. Yeah, I mean,
a lot of dick grabbing.
There's just like so many old men on stage, and just so much dick grabbing. So punk rock, yeah. Although like L7 played, and like I did not see them grab their pussies, but I was kind of thinking it's like there was so punk rock bowling. If you don't know, and don't flood this with your kids next year, it's like at least as of now, it's free for kids under 8, right? So if you're a parent and you have a kid, and this is the experience you want to take them to, some really hot weekend in Las Vegas. You can. Gross. And it's free. Yeah. But I can just imagine like these children like watching this and just being like, it's just a bunch of grandpas dragging their dicks in this one old lady band. L7, you're not an old lady band. Although like I saw like a bunch of like kinetic tape on like people like with people's arms that were playing. I'm like, oh, we're all old and we need like help as we play stuff.
But that means they're taking care of themselves.
They are.
Great. Good for them.
Yes, they are. So, what have you been up to?
I went and saw an amazing local artist while you were at punk rock bowling, local to Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth area, named Angel White, and he put on a phenomenal show. And the same night, my little brother came to visit and as a surprise, which was super cool because he lives on the East Coast, and he's in the military. So yeah, I got to see the ship come in not long ago. I think I talked about that. Bless you. But yeah, so I got a surprise visit, which is always exciting to have, an out of town family member surprise you and hang out. And then I had to go on a trip to see some family for a memorial for a family member. So that's where our travel overlapped, and we were unable to have a show for you last week. But there you go, we're back.
And one of them was sort of fun, and one of them was punk rock bowling. All right, so
there you go. There you go.
All right, so one thing, just kind of show note wise, I guess supernatural world wise, before we get into this. So it is official. I know the Winchesters are kaput. Jensen Ackles has put forth, I would say, a formal statement, but he put forth a tweet. So I guess this is formal as you need to get. And he's basically said to all of you who watched, followed, and supported this story, thank you. And to all of those who brought this show to life, I couldn't be more proud of what we did together. But as they say, timing is everything. With a massive network shift coupled with an industry strike, welp, that's some unfortunate timing. Sleep well, dear, at Winchester's on CW until we meet again somewhere down the road. So basically, that's it. SPN is over, but it's not over here. As I tweeted, we have, as I snot, like I love you, everyone likes to listen to me like snorting up my snot right now, but we are only on season 6, episode 18. So we have 7 more seasons to go and a season of the Winchesters. And maybe by then we'll have new content. We don't know.
Who knows?
So this is Frontierland. Yeehaw. And part of the reason is Diane and I could have shoved this episode in, but it would have been a lot of stress on our point. And I just said that I wanted this to have like the gravitas, the notice, like the time that it deserved, because this episode's fucking amazing.
Yeah,
it really is.
I agree. Now I know why you wanted to make sure we didn't just like rush it and force it.
Yep. So this was season 6, episode 18. It first aired April 22nd, 2011. So that was Earth Day. Weird no Earth Day references in this, but okay. It was directed by Guy Norman B, who we talked about recently, and one of our favorite duos, Dab and Laughlin, did the story for this, along with Jackson Stewart, who I'm sure has a story in here that I did not grab. I did find my supernatural reference book, so that is all back in, so you don't have to worry about that anymore. Phew. Woo-hoo. It was underneath a pile of clothes in my bedroom, as it should have been. So did you watch the recap on this one?
Yeah, it was on. So I watched that.
You're like, I
usually do.
Yeah. So some things of note that are in like the recap, I think that like kind of lead us into is like we have like there is 100 square mile of Devil's Trap, which then of course I noticed that because that was Devil's Trap. So we are in Devil's Trap podcast.
Yeah. No,
they were totally shouting out to the show. That is exactly what that recap was about. That was in the future. But we're going to go in the past, though. We're going in the past. Future to the past.
Yeah, the episode actually starts in Sunrise, Wyoming. We got like the super old West town, and it's like all sepia looking, and there's 2
and
cowboys.
The date says March 5th, 1861. So we know we are far back. So we actually tell
for
us.
sure. We're back in the olden days or something. And there's 2 cowboys about to duel.
What that was not.
And then we realize, yeah, there you go. And then you realize one of them is Dean. What? And he's got a sheriff badge on. And then we've got the clock striking, and we've got gunshots. And then we get a really cool intro of it's supernatural, and it's a map burning.
Yeah, after there's a whip sound too. And I am just I did say I went to Vegas, so like okay? I'm gonna like keep gasping for air because I came back from Vegas sick. So
don't. Keep breathing. It's important.
It's okay. It's fine.
Yeah. So super cool intro. And then we got to Sam, Bobby, and Dean 48 hours earlier and 150 years later.
Time travel is stupid.
And they are searching an old house where Sam finds the trapdoor to the Campbell family library.
And that's where you see Liz just gushes a little bit. She's just like, oh my God, there's a bunker underground and it's filled with books. Oh shit, do we find things that I really like? Yeah, we did.
Yes. Yeah. Bunkers full of books. Ways to Liz's heart. So they're looking around and we got a bunch of like old...
like, do you want to like bunker and book? Like...
Yeah. Fuck Netflix and chill. You want bunker and book. So looking around at there's like photos. Bobby's telling them they need to be looking for anything that will put a run in the Octomom's stockings.
Which could date this, right? Do you remember the Octomom?
I do.
Do you want to explain to our audience, maybe a millennial who does not, what the Octomom was?
I mean, basically it was a woman who did if I recall correctly, she had artificial...
Yeah, she took a bunch of fertility pills and she popped out a bunch of kids.
Well, she had octuplets.
Yeah, she had octuplets. So it was Octomom.
Which is very exceptionally uncommon to happen naturally for a human.
What? We don't normally pop out 8 children?
No. It's usually like 1, 2 tops, maybe 3 if it's getting real crazy. So it's pretty... So, I mean, not that people don't have more sometimes, but 8's a lot. And then she like kind of made a social media thing and then it was kind of real weird and then she kind of disappeared.
Well, this is also the time I think where TLC was just just starting to like take off. And maybe TLC shows. Maybe in my mind, I just watched like the new documentary on the Duggars. Woo. But I feel like this was like kind of that same time, that era of just like, oh, we're just going to put horrible human tragic stories on television for our own amusement.
They still do that.
Well, it's just sexier now. Like, nobody got a rose then. You just got 8 kids.
I don't know. Either way, so that's Octomom. I thought it was a pretty funny reference. So it's like, oh, not funny. Like, it was just an interesting reference.
It was a good reference. Shit. You can say funny. It's fine.
Oh, it was. The line is funny. That's for sure. So anyway, so they're searching through books and researching, and Bobby asks what Dean knows about Phoenix. And he replies, it's probably also dating a little bit. He's like, river, Joaquin, or a giant flaming bird.
See, and if you also want to watch some great other trash TV, go watch the shit about the Viper Room and what happened to River Phoenix. Like, that's also really great. So I love this reference. But he could have brought in Fox, right? So we didn't get a Hogwarts reference. That could have been a thing, but that didn't happen.
Yeah. Nope. But basically they found that the ashes of a phoenix can burn mother. But even Bobby thought that frickin' phoenixes are a myth. So now they've got to dig deeper. And Dean finds this really interesting journal that says that somebody's writing about using the Colt to shoot a phoenix in Wyoming in the 1800s. It's Samuel Colt's journal.
It is. And they fanboy.
Sam is so jealous.
Yeah. And he is, because I also I feel Sam's shoes. So I'm like, what the fuck? So, and also Samuel Cole's journal just has, I'm very excited right now. It just has this fucking, it's got a pentagram in the front of it. And it's just there's a goat on it.
Leather.
Baphomet maybe journal on it. It's just this is my journal. I'm like, what? And Sam's like, how'd you find this in here? But also Sam should have known, did old Sam, know this was here and, was too cool for this? But, yeah.
Yeah. So, there we go. But there's not any details about the Phoenix in the story. So, he's like, look, well, now we know, at least in March 5th of 1861, in Sunrise, Wyoming, we can find Phoenix ashes. Let's Star Trek 4 this bitch. And Bobby says that he was only a fan of Deep Space Nine. So now we've got our Star Trek references. So for reference, Star Trek 4, it was The Voyage Home. It came out in 1986. And that's Captain Kirk and the crew went back in time. 1986.
86. Okay, yeah. Because I saw this in the theater.
So Captain Kirk and the crew had to go back in time to San Francisco, 1986. So they went back to the actual year of the movie. So it's kind of clever to retrieve a humpback whale because that's the only thing that could communicate with the aliens that were probing Earth. That's not, that's your humpback whale sound? We should not be doing whale noises. I'm just gonna file that away. Whale, Liz and Diana's whale songs. The album that should never be made.
That's coming out. Hey man, I've got some furniture to pay for, so yeah.
Oh my god. All right. So there's your Trekkie notes for the day. Deep Space Nine wasn't bad either. It was pretty good. But I was more of a Next Generation.
Yeah, I'm just not really a Star Trek person. Like I went and I saw Star Trek movies with my mom because I've always pretty much every time my mom wants to do anything, I'll just go do it, right? And she likes Star Trek. Yeah. And I remember liking the Save the Whales movie. It was pleasant. So Save the Whales. You're not gonna make me mad at that.
So
there's no fucking worm in this one. Like nothing's crawling in your ear. Much more a fan.
Yeah. Well, Bobby's shocked and pretty surprised that time travel is the reasonable suggestion that Dean's got to collect these ashes. So Dean's like, well, yeah, we'll just call Castiel. But instead of Castiel showing up, when he calls to him, Rachel arrives. A different angel.
Rachel. Yeah. Rachel's kind of a bitch.
She's kind of a bitch. She's like, sorry, Castiel's busy commanding an army. You need to learn your fucking place. Yeah, if you're really his friend, maybe instead of just calling when you need something, you could check on him sometimes.
But I also get Rachel. I have been Rachel. Where your friend,
she's a bitch, but I'm also she's fucking right.
And she's protecting her friend. When you have that one friend, when they have their other friends that aren't your friends, you're like, I see what you're doing. You're fucking with her. I don't like it. Stop it.
Be nice.
So she's just on Cass's side, and she's he's commanding an army, and then he just he ruins it because he flaps in.
Yeah, Cass shows up, dismisses her, and then's yeah, no, she's my friend and she's one of my lieutenants, but she's just super committed to the cause. So sorry. And obviously, we cut to Bobby and Sam prepping weapons and things while they're asking where Dean is. So I guess Castiel agreed. So Cass is yeah, you've got 24 hours to make your plan happen. That's all there is to it. And Sam's that seems really fucking short. I don't know. It seems pretty reasonable to me. I was 24 hours, okay. I mean, you are sending them back 150 years in time. I feel that's pretty reasonable.
But I mean, also that is, that's... I don't know. How much time do you need in the Old West? I don't know.
Right? It seems really sketch.
I have a plan.
And we get to some of that. But Castiel's yeah, the further back I send you, the harder it is to retrieve you, the longer you're there, basically. And so, but who walks in? Dean. And Dean went fucking shopping.
He did.
At the Western stores. And I'm a little jealous, but I've been kind of into some Western vibe in goth cowgirl vibes.
But Sam righteously points out that I can wear what I'm wearing, and he honestly could, because he's just in a pearl snap with jeans and boots, and probably I've hung out with cowboys. I have a lot of photographs of my family being cowboys for many years. That would be fine.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of modern elements to it, but it would probably be fine. But Dean is just fucking stoked. And so, while Bobby continues packing guns and now piles of gold, Sam walks in. He's got a very, very crisp white Western shirt with a lot of embroidery and a giant shiny belt buckle.
Yep, he won something but didn't. We also learned during this that Dean can recite all of Clint Eastwood's movies, including the ones with the monkey.
Clyde, right?
Especially the ones with the monkey. His name is Clyde.
Yeah. So Dean walks in and he is just super proud of himself, and he's got on a poncho. He just calls it a serape, which that's the type of fabric, but it's a poncho, right?
It's a poncho, but he calls it I don't know, whatever.
It's weird, and he's got a hat, and he's got this black shirt and a bolo. It's just a lot. He definitely looks like he's dressed for a movie.
Yeah, and we're definitely getting a lot of Back to the Future 3 Three vibes throughout this. Like there's a lot of references to it, so there's kind of riding on that train too.
Not mad at it.
No.
And so Cass time boops them.
Boop, boop, and then boop to Wyoming.
Yep. And he's like, tells Bobby, yeah, just pray for me in 24 hours and I'll return and get the broom back.
It sounds easy.
Simple.
So, yeah, we're in the
Super
Old
easy.
West. Woo!
We are. And it's March 4th, 1861. And right as they appear, they get the pleasure of watching a guy get hung.
Well, first Sam steps in horse shit because that's authenticity, which is true. And so the guy being hung, there is a judge reading his death sentence. And he's very ominously saying, you're going to burn for this, every one of you. The guy being hung, not the judge. But I also would like, you're going to burn for this, every one of you, to be on my tombstone.
That's really fucking dark.
Wouldn't that be great though? Like every time somebody walks up, it's like, you're gonna burn for what?
That's awful.
I love it.
I don't like it.
Yep.
No. So yeah, he's mouthing off, and then they hang him, and yeah, it's sad. But he's wearing like weird leather gloves too. I don't know. They go see the sheriff because they're going to do their normal routine. Well, when we go to work a case, we go talk to the police and blah, blah. That's what we do. And this sheriff is not impressed with them, even though, go ahead.
Well, I was just say before we get to their names, I just God, it would just be so easy to impersonate. So you seriously could just get this badge printed up and I could just walk into a town and be like, I'm a marshal. I mean, I guess I'm a woman, so I couldn't. But I'm a marshal and I'm looking for John Stote, whatever his name is, and they will just give me him.
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently so.
Good times.
Well, of course, Dean introduces himself as Marshal Eastwood and introduces Sam as Walker, Texas Ranger.
That is the universe explodes.
So good. Amazing. Very happy about this.
And then we all just have this wormhole where Jerry Padalecki is Walker, Texas Ranger, becomes Sam Supernatural as Walker, Texas Ranger, and he just goes, and this is where the universe went off balance. And now we've been sitting here to fix it. And if we fix this, we can go back to 2016. Wouldn't it be nice? This is where everything went wrong.
Oh man. So they're asking around about Samuel Colt. That's their plan. And the judge makes fun of both of them for being too clean. And then they direct them. They're like, no, we don't know.
No. The judge does not make fun of them for being too clean. What happens what happened was Sam says they are looking for a man, and Judge Mortimer says, I bet you are. Nice shirt. Burn.
Well, so they get sent to go meet with Elkins at the saloon because Elkins knows everybody.
Yes, and also think back to Daniel Elkins. Is there a tie-in? I don't know.
Ooh. So Dean is stoked to go into the saloon, and then as soon as they walk in, he's very disappointed because basically there's one dirty passed out dude on a table, and then there's the bartender.
It's pretty much where you want to go find a good bar. You're I'm in a terrible town. I want to go find a good dive bar. And then you walk in, you see the dive bar, and you're like, oh yeah, it's a dive bar.
But he gets to the bar and he's excited now again, and he gets motivated and he wants to order a top shelf whiskey, which he's promptly told they only have one shelf. So he gets a whiskey for himself and a sarsaparilla for Sam.
Yeah, and I'm on Sam with this one. So
yeah, sarsaparilla's not bad. But anyways, so the Elkins, their barkeep, tells them that Colt has been working on this train station thing for 20 miles out of town and he doesn't understand why because there's nothing out there. It's in the middle of nowhere. But we know that this is all part of the devil's game that he's been
He's making devil's traps. Devil's traps.
Mm-hmm. Then we get a saloon girl.
Darla.
So Darla comes down the stairs and comes over to greet them. And Dean has probably romanticized his vision.
Yeah, what whores in the Old West look like.
Correct. And it was not what he found in Darla, who was probably a lovely woman, but was in an era where dental hygiene and other types of hygiene were not a priority.
The girl had herpes. She either had herpes in the mouth or she had
breakout.
syphilis. And they're all around her mouth
breakout.
and she really wants to give him a kiss. But I also think, like, hey, come on. Like, even back, like, at that point, like, I've read newspapers. Like, you don't want to, like, make out with a herpes girl. Like, they'll still be, like, she would be in the back.
Yeah. Not being one of the best
She's not,
girls.
Darla is not your best girl.
No.
You're the second hand.
But the judge doesn't care. He is ready. He's got his date with Darla. He arrives just then. And so him and Darla leave. And then Dean decides to take a sip of that whiskey that he hadn't touched yet. It spits it everywhere. It's like gasoline, which I'm sure at Bucky was.
Yeah, it probably was. I mean, it's just something that's made out of somebody's soul, but sarsaparilla. It's not bad.
Not bad. I think I've ordered that. Like, I think they have it at some of the places in like the stockyards.
Yeah, they do. I actually know they do. But also, if you go into old timey like ghost towns, they'll take Diana to one day. We'll go spend the night there. And so they get a sarsaparilla. It's not that bad. But all of a sudden, they hear Darla scream, "Ah!"
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we see Darla's looking past the judge, and we see a man of some kind, and he puts a hand on the judge's shoulder, and the judge burns to ash.
We can see it's Elias. We can see it was the guy that was before. Like, I guess I've seen it enough. That
I saw him, but it was like
I've seen enough that I would
he looks a little different
with
a noose around his neck.
So he burns at the judge with his hand. Ah, burn!
He burns. And as you would expect, Darla's pretty freaked the fuck out. Reasonable response. And Sam and Dean rush in, and then the sheriff joins them, and Darla's like, look, it was a ghost.
And they're just like, all they have are ashes, right? The judge is just in fucking ashes.
Just ashes and some bones. And the sheriff's like, ghosts don't leave footprints, and there's boot prints.
How do you know, Sheriff? That's what I want to know. How do you know they don't leave footprints?
No. So Darla insists that it was Elias Finch. So that's the guy that was hung, like we said. So, and sheriff's like, oh, well, this is just a botched hanging. Then it happens, which it did happen occasionally, which is real dark.
It was dark. Yeah.
And,
I see it happen all the time where I just hang them and they ain't dead and we just buried them anyways. This happens like every Tuesday.
Right? So he's going to form a posse in the morning to find Finch and hang him again and shoot him.
Everybody loves a posse.
But then he also tells Sam and Dean that they can join up the posse, but they have to go get some real gear, aka buy new clothes. So Sam and Dean know better though, and they're like, we should probably go check out this grave and see what's like going on here because it's something.
And Dean Grace is what we do.
Yeah, that's our jam. So they go, and there's the grave has obviously been dug up, and there's some like carbony, burny residue.
What is dug up? It's been escaped from.
Well, the grave is not sealed.
It is not sealed. There's no longer.
It is a hole. And so now we have the new theory that maybe the phoenix isn't a bird at all. Ooh. So Dean's like, all right, Sam, you go get the Colt from Samuel Colt. I will stay back with the posse.
Why?
Because now we get a series of posse jokes from.
So why does Dean want to stay with the posse?
Because he's a posse magnet.
And why else?
I'll let you.
Because he loves posse. I love posse. All right, so Sam is going to get on a horse, ride him, cowboy. And apparently in this land, Sam Winchester has never had horse riding lessons.
Yeah. But he's got to be back. He's got to ride this horse really fast, find Colt, get the cult or the person and or the gun, and then be back by 11 a.m.
Sure, seems easy.
Sure. So, we see Elias is now stalking our sheriff, though, at night. And the sheriff's going to try to shoot Elias repeatedly, but it doesn't do anything because Elias is impervious to his bullets. And then Elias tells him to tell the judge hi and touches him and he burns up.
Yeah, so the sheriff apologizes, like, oh, please don't hurt me. And Elias is like, tell it to the judge. And we get another, ooh, burn. But speaking of...
Which is funny that burn is the thing.
Burn is the thing. But speaking of burns, there's time for some burns. Lore.
Yay.
And we're going to talk about some people who are burned alive. And that's mainly because I was like, oh, I can talk about the Phoenix on this. But you know what? Phoenixes are fucking boring. Pretty much is like, I'm a bird. I've got like some red feathers and they're purple sometimes. And then like, I live for 500 years and then I die. And then I like... We know the story. Like the only like interesting thing within like lore like I really found about phoenixes is like sometimes they're a fucking worm, and like sometimes people like they get upset. Like so basically like when they die, like they come back as like a worm, and that worm turns into a bird. Like that's the most interesting thing I found. And well, also like phoenixes are everywhere. That is kind of cool. Like no matter what culture and like age, like Western, Eastern, like African, whatever, there's always some version of a bird that like catches fire and like regenerates itself. So always having this idea of like well, it gets pulled into like Christianity, other things too, just like the idea of like the death rebirth cycle. It's a thing. Yeah, but that's not what's interesting. What's interesting are people who spontaneously combust, or at least like people who like you were find piles of ashes, right? So this may have happened to one of the two people I'm about to tell you about. For one is real, and the other I made up along with my good friend ChatGPT. All hail our new AI overlords. So it's once again time for Diana versus AI. Who shall win? Miss Diana, I'm going to tell you two tales. Okay. One of these tales is real. One of these tales is not real. Which one is the facts? Your first tale. In 1731, a clergyman named Giuseppe Bianchini reported the story of the Countess Cornelia Bondi. The Countess was in her 62nd year when she was put to bed by her maids after she fell ill at dinner. The next morning, when her maid went to wake her, she was met with an impenetrable door. So the maid went out and climbed in through a window, because that's just what you could do at that time. And she found, and 4 feet from the bed was a heap of ashes. 2 legs untouched from the foot to the knee with her stockings on. Between them was a lady's head, whose brains, half of the black part of the skull, and the whole chin were burnt to ashes. Amongst us were found 3 fingers blackened, like they had ordered chicken at Popeyes. Sorry, that was on the menu that I ordered from Popeyes today. Alas. All right, so the rest of her was ashes. The bed received no damage. The blankets and the sheets were only raised on one side, as when a person rises up from it or goes in. Spread all over the bed was a moist and ash-colored soot, and that had even penetrated the linen in the chest of drawers. The fire did not spread to anything else in the chamber. Father Bianchini concluded that the fire came from inside the woman. The fire was caused in the entrails of the body by inflamed effluvia of her blood, by juices and fermentations in the stomach, by the many combustible matters which are abundant in living bodies for the uses of life. And finally, by the fiery evaporations which exhale from the settlings of wine, brandies, and other hot liquors or fat membranes.
Wow.
So that was our first story. All right.
Okay.
There's only 2. Okay. That one, this one.
All right.
In the city of Siena, Tuscany, during the 14th century, a woman named Caterina Benincasa was born on March 25th, 1347. She was born as the youngest of 25 children in a lower middle-class family. Tragically, most of her siblings did not survive childhood because of statistics. At an early age, Catherine consecrated herself to Christ and experienced profound mystical visions. She was drawn to a life of piety and devotion and became a tertiary of the Dominican order, joining the Sisters of Penitence of St. Dominica in Siena. Her unwavering commitment to holiness and asceticism quickly garnered widespread recognition, and she became renowned for her spiritual wisdom. Throughout her life, Catherine's divine inspiration flowed into her writings, dictating approximately 380 letters, 26 prayers, and the treatise known as the Dialogue. She shared her ecstatic experiences and profound insights into the knowledge of God and self. As the legend goes, Catherine retired to her chamber after a day marked by ceaseless acts of service and fervent prayer. The next mornings, when her maids went to wake her, they were shocked to not find Catherine, but to find a mound of ashes. Astonishingly, her hands clasped in a prayerful stance emerged unscathed from the inferno that had consumed the rest of her form. Amidst the charred remains, fragments of her skull and chin, were just these 3 fingers, now blackened and motionless, reaching skyward. All that remained of her physical presence was now a powdery residue, leaving behind this otherworldly spectacle. Touching the ashes left a greasy and foul-smelling residue on one's hand, imbuing the scenes with an extra eerie aura. The miraculous preservation of her hands clasped in prayer will later be regarded as a testament to her saintly nature, inspiring countless believers to seek her intercession and recognize her extraordinary journey towards sainthood.
I think the first one's the real one.
You know me too well. It is. The first one is a real one. That one actually happened. So, technically, the second one, St. Catherine of Siena, she is, as I always do, she is the actual real saint. She was a mystic. You can go find her shit, but she did not burn alive. She's just a saint.
Yeah.
But I will say, for the first story, this is something. So the story comes out. I pulled that from a thing of Mental Floss, but it's from this other book that I meant to have in my show notes here, and you can find them. So you can find the actual author or the person who wrote that, but I don't remember. But something that was said in the article. So the old lady. The story came from a person who said it that was then translated by an Italian poet. And so most of the stuff in there was already like kind of shitty, and then it was like made like this Italian poet of that time like made it even worse. But something that was said in that of the story of this woman who spontaneously combusted. The old lady was used when she felt herself indisposed to bathe all her night with camphorated spirit of wine. And she did it perhaps that very night. So camphorated spirits is camphor and alcohol. And that was used to treat skin complaints like a tonic lotion. But is camphor and alcohol.
Yeah.
So, all right. So depending on where you put that on, she lights it. Like they found this woman and her legs were left unburned. So it's just you find this pile of ashes and just the legs of this lady. But she had covered herself in alcohol, but didn't rub it on her legs. That's why they didn't burn the rest of her. But anyways, so I'm sorry. That's just far more interesting than a bird. More.
Was it fire chicken?
Fire chicken. Yeah, I really, for the most part, it's just bird catches on fire. It lives did it live 500 years? I don't know. Did it live 1,000 years? Fox. Is it from Egypt? Is it from Greek? Man, bird, fire. Meh.
I like fox.
They're pretty. I love a phoenix. Like I think I mentioned before, my best friend's a tattoo artist, and so he is kind of known for doing cover up work. So when I was telling you about this, like I was looking at the phoenix stuff, he's like, I have to do 3 phoenixes this week because that's like a very popular like cover up tattoo, and like, which is also why at this point I was just like, I'm gonna get a phoenix. I'm rising from the ashes. Like, as much as we all think, like, if you look at my hair, hi, I have phoenix hair. Very much rising from the ashes hair. But if someone's like, oh, you're like a phoenix, you're rising from the ashes of your life and your tragedy, I will punch you in the twat.
Reasonable. Yeah.
All right. So we will go back from that terrible burning people to Cass in a warehouse.
Yeah, because Rachel has summoned Castiel to an industrial site to have a conversation. And she's asking if it's true, his dirty little secret. And so as a viewer, I am suspecting that she is asking if the accusation by Fate in the last episode about the souls is what Rachel's asking about. But they never say for sure. And he's like, no, I just have to beat Raphael. And she's like, well, I don't like what you're turning into. And then she attacks him. Say the fight. No. So Rachel and Castiel are fighting and she's trying to stab him and he's forced to kill her.
He does. I mean, get a good wing spread. And I'm just telling you, hey guys, like if you have problems with your friends, you don't have to stab them with an angel blade. You can just kind of talk about your feelings.
Yeah. So, but he's crying. So now Cass is crying and wounded.
Yeah, because you killed your friend. You went too far, Cass.
Yeah. And we've got Bobby's researching, and so Castiel has nowhere else to go to recover, so he shows up at Bobby's and uses his own blood to draw a sigil on the kitchen wall.
And then Bobby...
But I like Bobby's comment right away. Is that what you're going for?
Yeah.
Bobby's first, he goes, are we running or fighting?
And that's a true friend. Like that, I honestly expect if I drop into Diana's house like one day, that's exactly the thing that comes out of her mouth.
Running or are we fighting?
And that's just what we do. Like, okay, whatever. Like, I'm on board with you.
What's next?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And Castiel's kind of collapsed. When we do get a balls from Bobby. That's important. So, Dean's back at the saloon and he's got his new outfit with a new duster on, and he asks Elkins where the posse is because nobody fucking showed up for the fucking posse.
Nobody likes good posse anymore. You say you do, but you don't. And also, like, we've got this wonderful, like, just like Sergio, like whatever the Old West person is. As I'm burping up on my wine, the Old West inspired music that's playing right now. This is very spaghetti western, like as he's going through, and it's so good.
It is, and they're talking like Elkin's like, no one wants to hunt a ghost, and they're like, well, he's like, well, where the fuck's the sheriff? And you hear someone outside yell, "The sheriff's dead!" So they go outside, and what do we have but a pile of ash with some bones mixed in? Well, shit. And a little sheriff badge right on top.
And Dean's like, who's the sheriff now? And Elkins picks up the ash. He just picks up the star and he pins it on him. But I'm like, what about your Marshall badge? Like, is it just on top of the Marshall badge? Like, can you just collect all the badges? Is it like Fiesta medals?
Maybe. Why not? So we cut to a cabin in the woods. Kind of. And it is an older man at a desk writing. And we know that this is Samuel Colt. Because 2 guys show up looking for him. And they're fucking demons. And he tells them they've come to confront the wrong drunk. He hung it up already. He's too tired and old. And they're like, no, you need to open the Devil's Gate. And he's like, no, you need to leave. And they don't. So he shoots them.
Yeah, the I'm too old for this shit quickly turns into also ruining his whiskey. Yeah. You shouldn't shoot them through your whiskey. Save that shit.
Mm-hmm. So we find Dean has now gone to seek out one of the deputies that was involved in the hanging of Elias Finch. And he tries to do a howdy, pilgrim. and it does not.
No. There is a knock on the door, and like on the outside of it, you hear somebody going, "Candygram for Mongo," like, and which is a Blazing Saddles reference, and is one of my favorite Blazing Saddles. Candygram for Mongo, because I love Mongo. So, and that's when they greet him, and that's when they go to it. We can't discount that.
Sorry for skipping a wonderful Blazing Saddles reference. So, anyways, the deputy's freaking the fuck out, right? He's like packing frantically, like, "Oh yeah, I'm totally gonna go like visit my sister or some shit. No, I definitely didn't mean to miss the posse meetup. Ha ha ha." And Dean's like, "Nah, I know that Finch was going after the judge, sheriff, and you. You're gonna be fucking bait." But he says gank, and the guy does not know what gank means.
No, and I appreciate that because it's a terrible word.
No.
But he does understand what bait means.
He does know that. Sam has managed to find Colt's cabin. And as soon as he walks in, he gets holy water thrown at him, which is just funny. It's always funny.
It is. It's always funny.
And so Sam's like, fuck it, I'm going to be honest. I'm a hunter from 2011. Here's my BlackBerry to prove it. And Colt's kind of like, all right. He's just like really accepts this right off the bat. And he's like, yeah, a giant from the future with a magic brick, doesn't give me the vapors when you've seen what I've seen, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, I do. Like, I really love Samuel Colt. Like, he's giving me kind of this very nice Silver Fox vibes. And just in general, just like, I can handle my shit and like nothing is good. I appreciate people who are good in crisis.
Yeah, he's very cool. Very cool. And Sam's like, hey, I need you to help me kill a phoenix in like 3 hours. I know you do it because I've got this journal right here. And Colt's like, I'm either too drunk or not drunk enough, which is a reasonable response to something like this.
Yeah. Also, fuck you, time travel, because how can you have the journal and then have the journal?
Why are there two journals now? It's very confusing. But Colt's like, yeah, sorry, no, I'm retired. You don't believe everything that you read. Sorry, brah. But Sam's like, no, you're a hero. You can't retire. You have to kill the phoenix. We need the ashes. It's the only way to kill the monster.
And then we have a very wonderful, like, dialogue back and forth. I mean, it's just like, it was like, fine. It's like, look, either I'm going or I need the gun. And then Colt is like, what gun? And Sam's like, the gun. Mm-hmm. And then Colt's like, oh, that gun?
It is good. She's like, oh, that gun. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Back at Bobby's, Castiel has woken up.
So we weren't done with that yet. I thought you had like you more than like, I will go on this. All right. And so he's like, well, that
go for it.
And then he's like, Samuel Colt's like, no, I lost it in a game of stud. And then Sam, like, also like, I almost thought about, we almost had a Samuel, because like there were so many Samuel Colts and Sammy and like with the last Samuel, like there was too much, but, anyway, so Samuel Colt tells him that he lost it in a game of stud, and Sam's like, you're lying. And Samuel Colt's like, am I? That doesn't sound like me. And then Detective Sam's just like, oh no, you killed a couple of demons with it less than an hour ago. I know, because like there were sets of brute prints and this place reeks of sulfur. So he's like pulled out like his Sam like detective badge. He's like, I know what you did, other Sam, you all.
Correct. Yeah. And I will say Colt tells Sam that the gun is a curse. I'm doing you a favor.
It is. It's kind of like, it's very interesting, right? Like this whole this dialogue between them, because like Colt's just like, you're basically like, you don't have enough, like, you're greenhorn. You don't have enough things. And Sam's just like, fuck you, motherfucker. Like, I think I know what I'm talking about. And I get this, like, being somebody who looks a lot younger than I like, I'm a middle-aged woman and I still sometimes look way younger than I do. And people just like, oh no, like, you don't know what you're doing. And Sam's just like, oh no, I went to hell, motherfucker.
Right. Yeah. So we cut to Bobby's, where Castiel is waking up, and they've got 1 hour left. Cass is like, yeah, sorry, Bobby, I got betrayed. Raphael totally corrupted Rachel.
Oops. So Cass is lying to Bobby. That's not good.
Lies. and that she's dead. And I just really needed some safety to recover, but I'm not better yet. That sigil on the wall is just to ward against other angels coming. And he's like, Bobby's like, you got less than an hour to pick up the kids from Frontierland. So he's like, I can't. The fight drained me too much. So Bobby's like, well, what the fuck do we do? Do we need another halo? What do we do? And Cass is like, well, I need to touch it.
He does. He needs to touch it. He does. Let me touch it. Touch it.
Bobby's so...
Oh, it's all fine.
Yeah. Sorry.
If it had just been Bobby's dick, that would have been so much better. Can you imagine? Just been like, no, it's just a penis. And it's like, no, I thought you wanted my soul. No, it's penis.
It's like, no, I don't need that. He's like, I have to do it gingerly or you'll explode.
Yeah, that sounds like butt stuff to me. All right. So Bobby's like, fine, just put it all in. And then we cut to the jail.
Yeah. And Dean's got our deputy locked in a cell by himself. And Dean's like watching the clock super close. Sam is fucking late and Dean is pissed. So he tries to start in the meantime asking this deputy, why is Finch after them? And he won't tell. So whatever. Finch shows up and guess who's ready to talk? Well, first Dean does test him with, a nail and it burns him. So now he's like, oh yeah, it's a common monster problem. Iron.
They can't get it up for iron.
So Finch knows that Dean's a hunter. And then he tells the story of why he's after the judge, the sheriff, and the deputy. And it is it is ugly story.
It is pretty much what every story in the Old West is, where you think like there's this like, oh, this tragedy thing, and then you find out what really happened. And Elias Finch and his wife are living outside of town, and they went into town to get some supplies. He went away. Deputy pinned his wife in an alley. Elias came up, and basically the deputy shot both of them, died in his arms, and they blamed the murder on him.
And the only person that witnessed it was the deputy, but the sheriff and the judge just believed him.
Yep. Not gonna say anything. All right, moving on. All right, so what's next? Get me out of authoritarian.
Dean's asking the deputy. He's like, "Is this true?" He's like, Dean's like, "Yeah, I could care." Dean tells Finch that he could care less about the deputy. That guy's a dick and a coward. Thank you, Dean. Correct.
He is.
But I also know what Finch is, so I've got to kill you. So sorry. But Finch is like, nah, we're gonna go for it, and he shoots the deputy because he's like, okay, well, I don't have to burn him. I'm still gonna kill him.
I didn't have to shoot the sheriff. I'm gonna shoot the deputy because you left the deputy's gun hanging on his holster.
Yes, he did, which was not.
Oops.
Wise. So Dean has to dive out a window.
He does, and then we have this fun shootout between them, like pew, 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 pew.
And who arrives but Sam with the Colt? Yay! He's there. But back at Bobby's, timer's ticking down, and Bobby is sitting with Castiel asking asking if he's sure, and Bobby's like, I can't leave the idiots abandoned in Deadwood. Which
is more funny if you actually know that Jim Beaver was in Deadwood. So
that is funny. So Castiel's like rolling his sleeve up. It's very
It is very weird. He's like rolling up his sleeve, just like, nah, we're just gonna get to it, and I'm gonna touch you where you pee. Like, that's right, I feel this is going.
Yeah. So back in Sunrise, Dean calls out to Finch, and
also,
Sam's like,
yeah, okay, wait, hold on. So I know where we're at. Like, okay, yeah, all right, go.
Sam's like, what the fuck are you doing? It's because Dean wants to go meet him out in the middle of the road. He wants to live his Old West dreams. If he's going to go out, he's going to go out super Old West style, apparently. Yeah. So as this is where we start doing our cut back and forth. And Bobby's got a leather belt in his mouth. This is a very weird scene, right?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out where you were, because this was like, so Dean calls Elias out and they square off in town while Bobby bites on a belt and Cass fists him as the clock counts down. That's what my notes say. So, and then the shootout begins.
Yeah, they're facing off, and then they shoot, and Finch is shocked when he gets shot because he thinks he can't be killed, but we see the crazy electrical thingy effect, and then he burns up.
It's hot as fuck. Literally. Meh.
But what does Dean get to do? Blow on the end of that revolver and say "Yippee-ki-yay, mother," and then we cut.
Yeah, we didn't get the fucker out of it. But also what's really sad though is like he's running towards the ashes because there's like, oh shit, the Phoenix is burning and we have to go. They start running towards it.
So Sam and Dean are running, the clock tower's striking.
Literally calling it the clock tower because the Back to the Future reference is so hardcore that Diana is calling it the clock tower.
Yeah. So we got Cass has his hand in Bobby's chest. The timer's counting down. The clock tower is striking. Sam and Dean are sliding in to get the ashes and with some big glass bottle. But right when they're approaching the ashes, they end up back in Bobby's house.
No.
And they are bummed. Dean's begging to go back. Sam's like, he's like, no, you can tell Cassiel there's no way, he's fried, he can't do this.
Well, and Cass is like, no, he's fried. He's just like, I never want to do that again. Like, he is traumatized by what he's done.
He's traumatized by reaching his hand into Bobby's chest.
He was like, yes, fisting your friend sometimes tastes more out of you than you think. Like, you think it's going to be fine, but then once you fist your friend, you just can't go back.
Can we call it like a soul fist or something, just to be clear? Or is that worse? I don't know. Never mind. Okay. So there's, Dean apologizes to them about it, but then there's a knock at the door. So Sam goes to answer the door, and it's a courier looking for Sam Winchester. And Sam's like, who's asking? And this courier's like, oh yeah, we made a bet. This package has been laying around like since forever. It says to deliver today from Samuel Colt.
Oh, Back to the Future. Also, time travel stupid. But
Sam
so in this world, we take it. Whatever. Sam opens a box.
Yeah, and it's a wooden box. And they open that, and inside is a very beat up BlackBerry. A note that says that they got the address and date off of the thingamajig, and a bottle full of the Phoenix ashes.
And then we get to end with some very great wordplay because Bobby says that he did not get a colonoscopy for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't even get his twilight nap. He didn't even get his twilight nap with that colonoscopy. But yes, and then we also get Dean. No, take the fight tower.
Yeah. There we go.
All right.
It was a fun one. Yeah. So I do have some casting notes for us today.
Mm-hmm.
Casting couch. It's the casting couch. Were they on that show that time with that guy? La 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 la.
Yeah. So we'll start off with Samuel Colt. Samuel Colt was played by Sam Hennings. His career goes back obviously to like the 80s. He's been in tons of single episodes of shows, including legacy and shows, or single or just a couple episodes of certain shows like Moonlighting, Walker, Texas Ranger, funny enough, Star Trek, funny enough.
Wait.
ER.
When we say Walker, Texas Ranger, she means the Chuck Norris, not the...
Chuck Norris, correct. Yes. Star Trek, ER, Dollhouse, and CSI. He was also a regular character named Charlie Whitehead White on the TV show Memphis Beat with Jason Lee, which I really liked. Anyways. Elias Finch, a.k.a. our Phoenix, was played by Matthew John Armstrong. Kind of like a little throwback thing, not 90s, not older, super old, but remember Celebrity Deathmatch?
Yeah, of course.
Matthew John Armstrong was Bill Maher on Celebrity Deathmatch.
Nice.
It was just too good. So a lot of like single or just a couple episodes of shows, including House, CSI, Bones. He was Pete Pryor in American Dreams, Ted Sprague in Heroes, which is a regular role, And he was in a few episodes of American Horror Story as Detective Byers. So, our Judge Mortimer was played by Scott Hylands. His career goes back to the late 60s. So he's been in a lot of things over the years, tons of appearances in television, a lot of just single or a handful of episodes, but you've got everything from Wonder Woman, the Waltons, I think at least 2 iterations of Kung Fu, but not the most recent, X-Files,
Which
Once
also,
Upon a
sadly,
Time.
is permanently canceled.
I know.
Sad.
Fargo, Winona Earp. He was in a lot of 70s like war movies when there was just a lot of like Vietnam movies coming out. He was Detective Taggart in the movie The Surrogate, and he played Father Travis on V, which is a recurring role. And our sheriff was played by Dean Ray. You'll recognize him from a lot of television shows as well. Highlander, Viper, X-Files, Smallville. He also had some smaller roles in some movies, but some pretty large movies. He was one of the Skips in John Tucker Must Die. He played Larry in the movie Personal Effects. That was with Michelle Pfeiffer and Ashton Kutcher, that film. And then he played Stan the Barfly in the movie Horns with Daniel Radcliffe. Then Rachel, our mean angel, was played by Sonia Saloma. She was Cynthia in the movie House of the Dead, Maya in the movie The Collector, a regular role in the TV show The Collector, excuse me. She was Linu in the Flash Gordon Modern Space Opera in 2007-2008, and she was Adrian's assistant in The Watchmen. Our deputy, the Dick and a Coward, if we recall, was played by Gordon Michael Woolvelt. You would have seen him in television episodes of like TNT, that's the Mr. T show, Avonlea, Rin Tin Tin, the Canine Cop, and he was in a few episodes of iZombie. He was a regular character of Seamus Harper in Andromeda. He was one of the soldiers in the movie Elvis Meets Nixon, and he was David in the movie Bride of Chucky. We also have our whore, Darla. April Talek played this role. You'd see her in a few episodes here and there of the new Addams Family, Outer Limits, The Crow television series, Aliens in America, a newer sitcom. She was Mrs. Wilson in Freeway 2, Confessions of a Trick Baby. Freeway is like such an epic movie. But
that
anyways,
name,
I've only seen parts of. I've only seen parts of.
Oh my god!
There you go.
Ooh.
Yeah, she was Nell, which is a regular character in Hell on Wheels, and then she was Goddess C in a movie called Earthlickers, and she's done her handful of holiday Hallmark movies too. Elkins. Our barkeep was played by Frank C. Turner, and
Frank Turner.
I know. He has a pretty epic career.
So we're
honestly,
tagging this
a lot
episode
of
with Frank Turner just so we'll see if
Are you?
Yeah.
He was Dr. Shepard in The Fly 2. He was the sad sack Santa in the Disney movie The Christmas Star. You'd have seen him in episodes of 21 Jump Street, MacGyver, X-Files. He also was Al Marsh in It, like the old It, not the new It, like the miniseries It. So he was a role in that. He was the van driver in Ernest Rides Again. Because whenever I can make an Ernest reference, I will. He was in Look Who's Talking Now. He also had small roles in what appears to be almost every Air Bud movie.
Nice.
So, and there's a lot of them. He was in the Mr. Magoo movie with Leslie Nielsen as Ralston. He had a small role as the impound man in 3,000 Miles to Graceland. In the movie 2012, he was a preacher, and he more recent film, he was Crazy Carl in the newest Sonic the Hedgehog movie that just came out in 2020.
With teeth.
There you go. So yeah, there we go. That's our casting couch this week. I told you it was a lot this week, but yeah. So,
all right. Well, there's
interesting cast for sure.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of interesting, like, kind of roles.
Character acting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, character acting for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, we took the week off in between because I wanted to give this episode like the time that it deserves. So, Diana, what were your feelings when you watched it?
It was super fun. I will confess. So first of all, as much as we both like, I don't hate time travel as much as you do, but it does annoy me, right? Not because I don't like enjoy, like I've read my historical fiction that has some time travel, and sometimes it's adorable and great, and that's fine. But like sometimes it's just annoying because it's like too complicated.
It's too complicated, or it's a trope, or it's like it's not worth it.
Yeah. But they had too much fun with this, you could tell, which was awesome. And because then if they're having fun with it, we have fun with it, right? And I think that's important. It's a pretty like, not that these like super heavy, but like this is kind of serious. Like people die a lot on the show, and like
we're at the end. Like this is episode 18 of the season, so we're getting towards the end of shit, right?
So we have to have something like lighthearted a little bit. And I love their weaving in of pop culture. It makes me very happy. And the references, I will say I was about to get I was going to throw my notebook and walk away and not do any other notes if that they didn't get the ashes. I was so mad. I was like, there's no fucking way. There's no fucking way. But I was like, I wonder if he shipped them. You think about that because because all these other references have built up. You're like, are they going to do that too? So I was very pleased with that.
Yeah, the fact that we went with the Back to the Future vibe of it, it was clearly everything from the poncho to just it got kind of beaten to the dirt, but in a good way. I liked it.
It was fun. It didn't bother me at all.
And also, I think we, as an audience, just enjoy watching Dean filled with joy, right? He is
and then you get a sense of familiarity when there's elements that you recognize. It's like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. Well, and just also for me, I just want Dean to be happy, and this was we get a chance for him, and then also enjoy watching Dean's happiness be stripped away, when he was just oh, these are things that I really love, and he was like, oh no, these are terrible things. The saloon girl prostitute, oddly enough, is not a sexy thing.
Things were a lot germier and smellier than he anticipated.
As somebody who lives in Texas and has experienced old Texas West, it smells, and that's and we have modern plumbing.
Yeah.
Well, on that note of it smells, is there anything else you would like to add?
No.
I think it smells is how we end this. Cheers, Jack.
I agree. Cheers, bitch.
Devil's Trap Podcast is a Don't Get It production. Meow.
Devil's Trap Podcast is part of the Ship It Studios Podcast Network. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Devil's Trap Podcast, Twitter at Devil's Trap Pod, or you can email us at devilstrap@devilstrappodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave reviews, and share with all your friends. We're at all your favorite podcast outlets and at devilstrappodcast.com. I'm Babe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.